And then, you know, you grow up and you get married, and then you're married to a mom. And one of my favorite moments ever is, and I think every dad in the room can at least attest to this moment of, you know, when you have a kid and you're trying to figure out, okay, when is the time to quit babying them and turn off your cell phones? And, you know, when is the time to quit babying them versus when is the time to start, you know, dadding them up a little bit? You know what I'm talking about? And I remember, I really struggled with that with Marcus because I was like, you know, he's a good kid, great kid, and I was trying to be nice. I was like, okay, when do I push him? When do I pull back? When do I, you know, kick into dad mode? When do I? And I struggled with that for a while. And then one day we were down at the park, and Marcus started whining about something and wanted to go home. Lisa was standing there, and she just goes, "Look, you a man or are you a little kid?" He was like 4. And I was like, I watched her. And he was like, "I'm a man." She's like, "Get out there and quit crying about it." I was like, yes, the time is here. I can now father my child. But, you know, so I've been very blessed to have spent most of my life around 2 fantastic moms. And Lisa is a tremendous mother who takes care of those kids, and she's got one that's still kind of attached. And it's just, she's got us, yeah, maybe it's my time to step in now. You're giving me but no, it's just amazing. Mothers are tremendous, and so naturally, we're going to talk about Rahab. Trying not to draw too many parallels between this being Mother's Day and who Rahab was. It says, now Joshua the son of Nun sent out 2 men from Acacia Grove to spy secretly, saying, go view the land, especially Jericho. So they went and came to the house of a harlot named Rahab and lodged there. So we have this, like, the Israelites like spies, right? I mean, we read about spies once already and how that didn't really work out to their favor. But here Joshua is sending out a couple of spies now, and he's saying, go check out these areas and make sure you check out Jericho. Make sure you look through that area. Make sure you let us know what's going on. And I know that it's simple to start looking at the negative nature of the spies, but how the first one worked out. But you kind of got to let this play out to understand. It says, so it's told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, men have come here tonight from the children of Israel to search out the country. So the word is spread that these men are in town. It says, so the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, bring out the men who have come to you and who have entered your house, for they have come to search out all the country. So he knows that they're there, obviously, to kind of check out the land and see what's going on, and, you know, bring back a detailed report of what's taking place. And it's understandable to be concerned about the second term of spies, but sending out spies as a form of reconnaissance is not a bad plan. That's what spies are good for, right? I mean, they're out there, they're gathering information, they're checking things out. It's really important to know what's going on in front of you, and since this was prior to, you know, satellite reconnaissance, you actually had to send people in there to look around and walk around and ask some questions. And in this time frame, it was a little strange to walk in not knowing the native language, not know exactly what's going on. And so these men, you know, they stuck out a little bit. So it was pretty obvious that they were there. But they were there basically drawing maps, writing up reports. You know, where are the strongholds, where are the walls, where are the people, where are the military, where's the different armies. And so they're going to bring this report back. But it is important to ask an interesting question, right? Because it's okay to be honest when you read the Bible occasionally, right? But how in the world did they end up in the house of a harlot? Did anybody ask themselves that question when they read it? It's fair if you asked it, and if you didn't, you should really start reading the Bible and actually, you know, engaging. Because it's a really interesting question. Now, there's a couple of observations that I would like to make in regards to this. First of all, for people of that profession, a certain level of illness, a certain level of being discreet is important, right? It's important. It's understandable. And so there is, and also information does tend to sort of flow there. And so here they end up in an area where they have that at their disposal, as well as the fact that for most people, the belief about who Rahab was is that at one point she was or was still being a harlot as a profession, but the truth is that based upon where her house was and all that, she was also noted as someone who took in travelers. She probably was an innkeeper. And so you have those kind of two levels at work here with who Rahab was. So she had basically a social knowledge, an awareness of what was going on in the city. She also had rooms to rent, as well as a bad reputation that preceded her, either prior to the spies getting there or as the spies were there. We don't have the information to be able to sit there and say that yes this or yes that for any certainty, but we do know that those two things are definitely at play here, that she was an innkeeper, and the idea is that they could have at least a certain amount of their presence being kept under wraps. So, as we read on, it says, and the woman took the two men and hid them. So now she's responding to the king of Jericho, and she said, yes, the men came to me, but I didn't know where they came from. And it happened as the gate was being shut, when it was dark, that the men went out. So now she's telling them what? They left. She's lying, right? Which is just insane to think. She's lying. And she says, where the men went, I don't know. Pursue them quickly, for you might overtake them. So now she's taken not just alive, but now she's encouraging them, go get them, you can get them, you can catch them, they're really slow. And it says, but she brought them up to the roof and hid them under the stalks of flax, and she laid out on her roof. So they're up on the flat roof hiding. It says, and the men pursued them by the road of Jordan to the fords. And as soon as they had pursued them and gone out, they shut the gate. So Rahab basically went against the wishes of her king to protect these guys. Because the king of Jericho has said, bring them. You got to read it carefully. And so they come and she said, bring those guys to me, because they're here to destroy us, right? So the king thinks naturally that anyone in Jericho would want to care for what's going on in Jericho. So he's like, listen, they're coming here to take from us what is ours. They're coming here to take our land. They're coming here to take our city. So Rahab, bring them over so we can stop that, or at least maybe find out what's going on. So she goes against the wishes of her king to protect these men. Now, there's a greater plan work here. She lied to investigators about their itinerary, right? She says they're gone. They left. They went out that way. You can catch them quickly. Go quickly. Now, it's interesting that the Bible says the men heeded her advice and went after them. So she's not somebody of that bad a reputation. They're not going, you're a liar. They believed her. So she must have had some measure of reputation in the city. And so she says, listen, go. They're out there. You need to go after them. So they take off. So she lies about the itinerary of the men who came to visit. She risks her own life. Because if she's caught to be a liar, things are not going to work out well for Rahab. Right? She puts her own life on the line here. She says, no, they're gone. Now, if they had searched her home and they had found them, I don't think that Rahab would have been able to stay alive. They would have taken her life. And so she risks her own life. Now, she has a greater purpose at play here, which we're going to read about in just a minute. But like I said earlier, sometimes when you're reading the Bible, make sure you're engaging with it. You have to ask yourself an interesting question. Is this an acceptable life? Anybody ever ask that question? This guy should read your Bible. Take some questions to it. It's okay. Interesting question. You should take it home and ponder it. Okay, so. Well, last I checked, just want to take it. All right. Now, therefore, they lay down. And now, before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to them, I know that the Lord has given you the land, that the terror of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land are faint-hearted because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the two kings of the Amorites, who were on the other side of the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. As soon as we heard these things, our hearts melted, neither did there remain any more courage in anyone because of you, for the Lord your God. He is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. Now therefore I beg you, swear to me by the Lord, since I have shown you kindness, that you also will show kindness to my father's house, and give me a true token, and spare my father, my mother, my brothers, my sisters, and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. Now, there's two parts of this that are very interesting statements from someone who is not an Israelite. She says, as soon as we heard these things, our hearts melted, neither did there remain any more courage in anyone because of you, for the Lord your God. Interesting that the Israelites, for 40 years, struggled with the idea of mustering enough courage to have faith. Meanwhile, their enemies have lost all courage because of stories that they've heard. So the stories of what God has done for the Israelite nation as they pass through the wilderness have begun to spread all over the valley and through Canaan and through the Promised Land. This idea that this group of people, which is large in size anyway, also has a God who does miraculous wonders in front of them and around them and through them all the time. The word of this has spread throughout the valley, and people have begun to lose courage to the point of complete courage loss. So when you look at Joshua 1, what does God say? Be strong and of good courage. Meanwhile, their enemies have already lost courage, because they know an impossible army is at the door. Because it's not just an army with spears and large numbers, but an army that has a God working miracles in front of it all the time. But meanwhile, over in Israel, God's going, no, you really should have courage. You really should. I'm fighting your battles for you. I'm in front of you. It's interesting how courage plays out here between chapter 1 of Joshua and chapter 2. In chapter 1, God's reminding the people who follow Him, His chosen people, be strong and of good courage. Meanwhile, God hasn't said anything to Jericho. Just a rumor is spread. Right? Just the word of what God is doing has reached Rahab. Of what God is doing. And the men of the city, the men of this powerful city that is well defended, which we're going to read about later, but which is well defended, well guarded, prepared for anything, have lost all courage. Because they know if the God that can part the Red Sea shows up, it doesn't matter how thick the walls are. It doesn't matter how well armed we are. So you have that statement from Rahab, and then you have an even greater statement from someone who was not an Israelite. She says to them, He is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. Rahab doesn't say, He might be, maybe, who knows. She says, listen, I acknowledge that your God is legit. Right? That your God is for real. Your God is the God in heaven. And your God is the God here. I acknowledge that. I have no problem with that at all. So really you could say that Rahab was a believer, right? Because she was. Rahab is sticking her neck out here because she knows that God is for real. And she knows that she has to beg upon His good graces with the people that He loves to get what she wants. She's not just giving them, what they want to hear. She's saying her convictions. My convictions are that this God that walks in front of you is laying waste to whatever gets in His way. And you're not doing much at all, by the way, Israel. God's the one parting the Red Seas. God's the one turning the water sweet. God's the one doing all these things. God's the one providing food from heaven. God's the one doing all of this different stuff and taking care of you day after day, day after day, day after day. And I know it, and the rumor has gotten here. So obviously this woman is informed. So much so that through the testimony of these rumors, she has been brought over into the camp of the converted. She is not one of God's chosen people, but she is certainly one of God-fearing people. And so she is talking to these men, fully aware of that. And so she knew the coming Israelite army, and she knew of the God that leads them. She knew that the men of her city and nation couldn't defeat them. She knew it. She knew that Jericho didn't stand a chance. If God fought for Israel, Jericho didn't stand a chance. She knew it. And with this knowledge and opportunity, she had a chance to save her family, and she took it. God somehow brought this whole thing together, and she knew it. She had a chance to save her family. She puts her neck out there to save her family, to care for the ones that she loved the most, the ones that mattered most to her. She took the chance to save her family. So then the men respond with, "Our lives for yours. If none of you tell this business of ours, which means Rahab or her family. And it shall be, when the Lord has given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with you. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the city wall. She dwelt on the wall. And she said to them, Go to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you. Hide there 3 days until the pursuers have returned, and afterward you may go your way. So she doesn't just say, okay, good, glad we got a deal. She then empowers the men to get out of the city and run away. That's good. Tell Gabe after. That was the second spot. But she didn't just save them, because she saves them, right? She hides them on the roof. She saves their lives. Then she delivers them. She provides them for them an escape from the punishment they're going to get if they get caught. And then she tells them, go hide in the mountains. Because she knows the routines. She knows that the men out looking for them will come back. They'll give up. Because after a while, they'll just say, well, they got away. Or they'll decide she's lying and they're going to come back. And then they're going to search her house. Or whatever. But she's aware of how the system works. And so she doesn't just say, okay, I saved them, good, we got to know. No, then she says, now let me get you out of here. Now, why? Because it was in her best interest to see the deliverance through, right? Because guess who knew about the oath to save her family? Those two guys. Right? There was no promise elsewhere. The promise came from the two men that were there. And so she knew how to see the process through. And she knew in order to get what she was hoping for out of the situation, she had to see it to an end. It says, and the men said to her, we will be blameless of this oath of yours, which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land, you bind this line of scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down. And unless you bring your father, your mother, your brothers, and all your father's household to your own home. So it shall be that whoever goes outside the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we will be guiltless. For whoever is with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head, if a hand is laid on him. And if you tell this business of ours, then we're free from the oath which you made us swear. And then it says, then Rahab said, according to your words, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed. And she found the window she found a scarlet cord in the window. So now you have kind of the follow through, because battles are messy, right? Battles are messy. Innocent people get killed all the time in war. All the time. It's a horrible thing, and it's an awful thing, and it's a tragic thing. That's what happens. And the men know this. And the men say, look, we don't know how God is going to deliver the city into our hands. We really don't know. I would love to be able to tell you that here's our battle plan. If you go stand over here, you'll be fine. They don't do all that. But they say, listen, if you take this scarlet cord, if you take this and you wrap it around your door, and you wrap it in your window, and you put it where we can see it, then anyone who is in that home will be spared to the best of our ability. If they wander out in the streets for any reason, can't make any promises. Because we don't know how this battle is going to look, right? They don't know. Is this battle going to be with the sword? We don't know. At this point, it's pretty safe to say they didn't know exactly what the plan was. Because the plan's a little different. But they say, listen, as long as they stay in the house, they'll be safe. If anything accidentally happens to them, if something bad happens, then it's our fault, and we carry the weight of that sin. We carry the weight of that moment. But as long as they're inside, we give our word to be safe. So she takes the scarlet cord and she puts it there to basically show that she is an ally of Israel. Right? Friend, that's why we wear uniforms, right? The reason the military wears uniforms. If everybody wore the same color and the same look, it'd be really hard to figure each other out in a little fight. Right? That's why you wear uniforms. Why being in the Revolutionary War? Because they stood out like sore thumb. Right? Exactly. We disguised ourselves to look like farmers. Worked pretty good. But the reality is that she stood there and she said that, listen, I'm an ally. And the other thing is, too, a scarlet cord is easily seen. It stands out. It doesn't make sense. What's it doing in a window? Right? Something that bright, something that awkward, something that different stands out. And in the middle of chaos, it's a good thing to stand out if that standing out means you're safe. Right? In the military, why do you wear the big red cross? To prove that you are a non-combatant and that you're there to help somebody. Right? And it really stands out. Right? Tell a story about one or two, but I won't. But the reality is, that's why medics wear that stuff. It's so that when they run over to somebody who's hurt, everybody goes non-combatant, doctor. Right? Yeah, it backfired. Get one of the worst, but we'll talk about that some other time. Which is, well, you have to be cornered with Marines now. But anyway, but the idea is that you want non-combatant status to stand out. You don't want to look like everybody who's fighting. You want to look different. And so they tell her, take the scarlet cord, take this thing that stands out, that's obvious in the window, put it on the window, and you will be set aside. You will be set apart. You will be saved. And under the protection of the cord, everyone in this house will be saved. Under the protection of the cord, if you put it out there, if you make it obvious, everybody in this house will be saved. Everybody. Now there's some risk that goes along with this, right? You don't think the word's going to spread that whoever's in the room with the scarlet cord gets saved? Well, what happens if Israel loses the battle? Not going to be real hard to figure out who had the scarlet cord in the window, right? There's still risk here. I know we look at it because we get to read the whole thing. But think about it in real time. Well, in the middle of a fight, somebody's talking about it.
Huh?
Somebody was talking about it. The king of Jericho knew the spies were there. And so who told him the spies were there? All I'm telling you is it gets rumored. Not in a bad way, but in a protective way. But what happens in the middle of a fight? If somebody overhears the wrong thing, if something happens, what if Israel loses and you take people and you find out after torture or whatever? It's not hard to figure out who got the scarlet cord in the window. So there's still, in real time, concern here. Now, in Rahab's mind, she knew that God was going to win the fight. To her, it was understood. And she was passionate about it. She took the chance. But that's what they had to do, but under the protection of the scarlet cord. And much like cat of nine tails that we read about in the New Testament that was covered in the blood of Christ, it set us apart in the battle to be persecuted along with Christ. It sets you apart. You should look a little different. And in Rahab's case, she looked a little different. Because she knew that everything she had heard about this God, this living God, was true. She wasn't worried about it. Because she desired more than anything to save her family. And she believed that this God was going to allow the Israelites the power to annihilate Jericho. And she saved her family. She had a heart and a passion for her family. Even though her actions could have cost her her life, it was worth it. Because it meant she could save her family. And she would do anything to save her family. And I know as I was reading through this, I was thinking a lot. I shared just briefly at the beginning about growing up in a home that I grew up in, and I think a lot about my mother. And you know, it's one of those things where this kind of attitude was the attitude that my mom had. Was it didn't matter what it took, she would save her family. You know, she would care for, love, pray, lead, discipline, whenever necessary, which wasn't that. But she would compassionately care for and surround her family with how much she loved them. That given the opportunity, she would have sacrificed herself for them to save them. And with Rahab, you see that her belief in God wasn't enough. She had to act on that belief. She had to then say, I will step into the fray. I will step into the fight to deliver my family to safety. And in my own home, deliver my family to safety. My father, my sister, my brothers, everybody. I will bring them in and I will deliver them to safety. And you know what? There's going to be a lot of noise outside. I don't know how this battle's going to look, but there's going to be a lot of noise outside. And I know that. But here, in this home, they're going to be safe. And as I read about Rahab, I was thinking a lot about the power of a woman's conviction. It's very different. because she saw fit to do this. The conviction that she had for her actions. That even against all odds, even against things that seemed impossible, because you think about it, she's acting upon everything she's heard. Did she witness any of this? No, she says we heard the stories. We know what happened. She's going on word that has spread to her, but she knows this is her chance. Her conviction was so strong, and her concern for her family came first. Because he says, listen, here's the oath I want you to swear to me. Give me this token. Give me this one thing. That's all she asks for. She doesn't ask for anything else. She says, give me this one token, this one thing. Let me save my father's house. Let me save everything that has to do with my family. She elevates first. She's a part of that salvation, yes. She's a part of that saving, yes. But the first thing out of her mouth is, let me save my father's house. Let me save my brothers. Let me save my sisters. Let me save the people I care about by having them here. Because her love for her family is so strong. She had the potential offering of her own life in this case because of the fact she was helping them. What if they didn't get away? What if they didn't make it out? What if the soldiers got back in time? What if the men who were searching for them did find them in the hills? She gave all of this thought, but she knew that this was her chance, and she went through all of that. And when I think through this idea of is our conviction so great that we would risk everything to save those that we love? Would we risk our reputation? Would we risk a lot of time of our day? Would we risk and give away so much of ourselves to see those that we love raised up? You know, and I go back to when I was a kid, and my father was an alcoholic, and he was dealing with so many things, and I remember that my mom would always just pray and love my dad and support my dad and care for us all the time. I can't imagine the amount of energy she actually expended doing that. I can't even fathom it. But she did. Because she looked at him and she loved him. And like I said, I grew up in one of the coolest houses in America. My mom was a licensed and ordained minister. My dad despised church. It was awesome. I mean, it didn't lend itself for a balanced high school life, but it was awesome. Because I got to watch both sides of everybody's life all take place in my house. I had conservative Christian side, and on one house, one roof. I had a saint, and I had people to meet the center. And there were times when I loved my dad more. Because my dad was like, you're going to church? I'm going to sit here and watch football and drink beer. And I was like, really, Mom? Can I just stay home? She's like, nope. I only went to church 6 times this weekend. Don't laugh. It's pretty good. You know, but I had it. But I watched this passion play out for 20-something years of just this love and this care for family and elevating and sacrificing herself and putting herself into the fray all the time. And loving us and caring for us when we were total screw-ups and total sinners and totally messed up and totally lame. And loving my dad when he was just messing it up and throwing it all away. And she just kept staying in there all the time. And she would give up parts of herself all the time just to hold everything together. And I'm sure that there are times, and she's 65 now, I'm sure there are times when she looks back on her life and she's like, you know, I gave up a lot to hold that together, but she wouldn't give it back. She held it together. She saved her family. My dad's a Christian now. And trust me, if you would have met my dad 20 years ago, I guarantee you would not have thought that possible. Guarantee. My dad's a Christian now. And it is the weirdest thing. There's still times when my dad, you know, he's still struggling with that balance between who he was and who he is. Sure, it's natural. But for all those years, she prayed for him, and she cared for him, and she loved him, she supported him, and with us as a mother, my mom always was the one who cared about who we were. My dad cared about what we were becoming. My mom cared about who we were. You know, and I look at that, and there's that conviction, that strength that just as a guy, I don't know that I have it. You know, as a guy, I'm like, oh, you stick in there, plow through. You know, I was like, no, I can fix it all thing alone. And just care for everything. And just a tremendous amount of strength. And I think sometimes we forget that. I know I do. As a son, I forget that all the time. You know, there's times when I overlook it, I miss it, it gets washed away in time or whatever. But, you know, she was willing to lay down all the time to save her family. You know, and when you read this, there's a conviction here, there's a strength here that cannot be easily read through. That she put her life on the line to save her family. And I think it really is the call that we have. And when I look at my mom, I can sit there and I can say, yeah, I can totally buy into that. When I watch Lisa with the kids, I can totally buy into that. You know? And I think we have to remember that, and we have to exalt that on a day like today. And care for that on a day like today, and appreciate it. We probably should do it at least 3 or 4 other days of the year. But, you know, it's important on Mother's Day that they get it. But with Rahab, I really do see that integrity and that character for what makes a great family take place, that willingness to lay it down, to care for the family, that willingness to put your life on the line every day for the family. Getting up and going to work is easy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about every waking moment having that be what you do. And I know that as much as I don't consider myself a bad dad, I know that I'm not nearly as good a dad as Lisa is a mom. You know what I'm saying? I know that. I can be honest about that. And like I said, I don't consider myself a bad dad, so this isn't like a hatred thing. But it's really true that what she lays down every day to be what she needs to be so those kids have some semblance of balance in their life. I do not know how we all grew up to be okay in my home. Because we grew up in the midst of the Civil War. All the time. I'm telling you, my mother's favorite record to play when I was a kid, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. My dad was a Marine who fought in Vietnam. My mom's like, civil rights, hallelujah, I love everybody, I'm a Democrat. My dad's like, shoot, everybody. Right? Anybody who's met my dad, it's true. He'd rather just do the annihilation. Start over. You know, I grew up in the Civil War all the time in my home. My dad is not the world's most sensitive individual and communicative. Right? You know, he's met my father, and that's all. But you know, it's all a tribute to my mom. You know, when I was reading the story this week, I thought it was interesting. I made a bunch of jokes to people I talked to this week. It's like, you know, it's going to be a little funny talking about Harlow on Mother's Day. But in essence, it's the same core values. She cares for her family more than anything. And she saves her family because she puts herself out there. And I think some of us, especially if you're a mom and you're struggling with stuff, the reality is you know that deep inside, you have something. I can just go like this. Good job. You know, because you have something inside that causes you to lay yourself down for your family. I don't get it. It's amazing. And your kids and future kids, for many of you, perhaps. I saw one way too big smile here, but the reality is you're appreciated and you're loved. And I know that the 2 moms that I have in my life, I see it all the time. And it's worthy of praise and even a hug. Because it's amazing. And I'm telling you, maybe a little bit odd, but do the beliefs of our hearts have they led us to actions? You know, keep praying for your husbands, keep praying for your kids, keep praying for your other family members. Stay strong, stay true, stay integrous to the Word, stay in honest belief, humble faith. My dad's a testimony to it, I'm a testimony to it. Many of us in this room are testimonies to our mother's continued belief and faith. And the reality is, just stay true to it. Continue to put yourself out there, continue to be honest, continue to be whatever that is that God put in you that you left out of me. And you will see. We will pray with you, and you will see. And God will see you through. And I just want to say thank you for all that. And that's it. Just want to say thanks. All right? So, see, it's not really a Christian movie sermon. It's more of a kid with a cool mom sermon. But like I said, so if I could just have the guys who are here with the moms, the ladies in the room, just put your arms around them. And if you don't have somebody to put your arm around them, Jason's available. And let's just, why don't you guys just, come on, be the men, put your arms around your mamas. You can do it. They'll put their arms around you. Oh, there's some serious love going on in row 2. And why don't we just say a little prayer for the moms? You guys can, all right. That was late. All right. You got a couple minutes?
We have the director.
Yeah?
I'll touch it.
Oh, not a touch of it yet. That's okay. Hey, well, you know, whatever you're comfortable. Why don't you say a prayer for your mom, your wife, your other friend, whatever. And just spend a few minutes. Just tell them thank you. Tell them how awesome they are. You don't need to look at me for that. Everybody's staring at me still. Get your moms, get your wives, get your girly friends, get your kids. You can just bite a stitch.